Alright Pixel Nation, and welcome to the first episode of Kit Switch. This episode we're going to cover the SAW, or the M249, the Mp443 Grach and C4 Explosives Kit. So we'll start off with the SAW statistics. It deals a hefty 25 damage, not as high as some of the other LMGs, but it does deal a nice 25 damage out to 8 meters. After 8 meters it drops down steadily to 17 damage at 15 meters. This means it goes from a 4-shot kill to a 6-shot kill at longer ranges. Now the gun has 100 rounds in the magazine, or if you go with the extended mags option, has a whopping 200 rounds in the magazine. Its fire rate is the highest of all the LMGs at 800 rounds per minute, and has a projectile speed of 628 meters per second. This basically translates into a very fast projectiles weapon. Now the fastest is the M249 IA-R with 650 meters per second, but it fires at a slower fire rate. Therefore the bullets will hit your target faster and will hit a lot more at the same time. Now it reloads in 6.2 seconds, and that doesn't change whether the gun's empty or full, because with LMGs the bolt is fully cycled and then reloaded, so you get only 100 or 200 rounds depending on your attachments. This means there is no round in the chamber. Now for its recoil pattern, it has medium level upward drift. Some of the guns are higher and some guns have lower upward drift. However, it has very high side to side drift as well, putting it on par in second place pretty much for heavy recoil. In other words, it's the second worst gun for recoil, so it does kick quite a bit. Now I find that putting the foregrip on does decrease your recoil quite a lot. It also has the same tight spread as the M249 IA-R and RPK-74M. After the Type 88 LMG, which are the PKP, M240 and M60, the guns tend to bounce around a lot more and have a higher spread. Now as for attachments on the M249, I'd highly recommend the holographic sight. For some reason I'm very partial with it. I feel that the IRNV sight, which is getting nerfed soon, does bounce. I don't know what happens, but I just can't seem to stay on target with it now. The red dot sight, or the RDS, is pretty good as well, but for some reason it's all about the holographic sight for me. Now this gun comes standard with a bipod, which I remove off the gun straight away because I'm a very run and gun player. The bipod allows you to mount the gun, and this makes it impeccably accurate. We're talking, you can pick off people across the map with this thing. It makes the recoil very stable and gives it virtually no recoil. It's almost like a laser. Problem with the bipod is though, you're bolted down to one position. Now as for your sort of barrel magazine attachment, or in your third slot, you're in a bit of a twiddle because you have a choice now between the flash suppressor, the extended magazines, or the silencer, or just a general suppressor as it's otherwise known. Now the suppressor does drop your damage down by 7%, which is quite a significant amount, but the lower velocity rounds of the suppressor means that the gun has less recoil as well and becomes more manageable in close range. Also, it can help keep you off the minimap from firing, although I'm not sure if that actually fully works with this gun. But overall, it does work very well. The M249 is a great gun and does prove the point that a lot of bullets are better than one bullet. Now next up we have the first handgun we're going to cover. This is for the Russian side only. Now the suppressed and tactical light versions of this are covered in future episodes, and also they're available on any kit. However, where this is the Mp443. Now this gun deals out 30 damage and is second place only to the revolvers, which deal 50 and 55 damage, and the M1911, which deals 34 damage. However, the 30 damage means that you'll get a 4-shot kill. It has a muzzle velocity in-game of 320 meters per second, which means it's about half the speed or so of the SAW, which means that if you're shooting a longer range target, you're going to have to lead them by more distance. Now generally this doesn't actually play into gameplay very much, but it might be worth knowing. Now the damage drop off, it stays at 30 damage for 8 meters and then drops down to 12.5 damage As for the gun's capacity, it holds 17 rounds plus 1 in the chamber, giving it a total of 18 rounds if you don't expend all the rounds in your gun before you reload it. If you fully empty the clip and the gun as well, then you have to reload with only 17 rounds. You can reload again, however, to gain that 1 extra round and bring you up to 18. Now, as for the gun's recoil, it's generally, it's not worth talking about the recoil. It's a pistol. It virtually has none, or has very, very little anyway. However, when you are using it, the iron sights and the way the pistol kind of jumps around can make it a bit unmanageable from time to time. So I would actually recommend, just if you're using this gun in medium range, you're not going to be using it as a primary weapon, as I am trying to show you here. So you'll be more than likely pulling this gun out to fire 1 or 2 final shots into a guy to finish them off. And that's where the pistols in this game stand out, is as finishing weapons. If your main gun runs out, you can pull out your pistol and shoot them. Although your main gun probably won't run out if you're using the saw, because you've got about 100 rounds in it. However, just pull out the gun and hip fire. Aiming is virtually not even needed. You can see me here, I'm just pretty much running around tubing people, but if you want to use the gun, I would highly recommend just hip firing it at medium range. And at longer ranges you can try and pick people off, but you won't have much success. Alright, now the gadget we're discussing for the support class is C4, which can be thrown from when you're parachuting down out of a jet that's about to be killed. Not abandoning your helicopter mid-flight to take out something like this. That's not a good idea. It doesn't help your team at all. But the C4 chargers are most useful for just taking out tanks. It generally takes about 3, although I tend to use 4 to 5. Now you only get 3 charges if you don't use squad explosive or the standard explosive perk. So I'd recommend, if you're running with C4, to use the explosive perk, specialization, in order to get enough charges to take out 1 or 2 tanks. Now, C4 does have a good blast radius and deals quite a lot of damage. Now, in order to take out a tank, as you can see, this tank's facing me, so I'm like, oh, better not go that way. We'll swing around the back and take out from behind. Now, C4 does the most damage to the sides and rear of a tank. If you're going to do it to the front of a heavy tank, you're going to need about 4 charges, maybe even 5 sometimes. Now, you can't do the old jump throw trick from Bad Company 2. It doesn't work. Well, it kind of works, but it doesn't have any real use. You can't throw it over a house or across containers or something. Now, this is a bit of a dick move, what I'm doing here, but you can take an empty buggy that nobody's going to use, put C4 in the front of it and drive it towards enemy tanks. This is useful if there's a tank a good bit away from you or in an open area who's just wrecking your team. But there are some tips for using C4. Alright guys, that's it for this episode of Kit Switch. Next week we're going to discuss the recon class a little bit, and we're going to go into the SV98, another handgun, and some of the recon equipment. But anyway guys, let me know what you think of this series in the comments. I'm going to get as much feedback as possible to help shape the show a little bit. But anyway guys, as always, it's been good talk, and I'll see you out there.